All right. In 3, 2, 1. The man, the myth, the legend, dude. OG Human. Dude, I'm so excited to have you on today, man.
Mate, I'm hyped. I'm on
Dude,
a hype train right now, mate.
I can't believe I can't believe that first of all we're even here right now because the odds of us knowing each other is kind of insane. Um
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the way you met the way that you found me, because you found me. I had no idea any of this. It seemed like you were just
Just
scrolling
randomly.
through Twitch, right?
Yeah, I just randomly stumbled upon you, and you were just having a laugh with your people in the chat. So I thought, you know what, this guy seems sound. Let's just have a bit of a chin wag. And then before you know it, now
I
I'm on
don't
your
even know what
podcast.
you're saying right now.
Now I'm on your podcast, mate. Yeah,
Dude,
it's crazy, right?
this is
It's crazy.
awesome, man. This is
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
really cool.
crazy.
Speaking of you just kind of browsing through Twitch, bro, you've got a channel up now on Twitch, streaming with a consistent schedule. How has that been going?
It's a whole different ball game, isn't it? So obviously I was doing YouTube for quite some time before it got, what it is now.
Right.
And obviously I took a break and stuff, but I never considered doing Twitch because well, first and foremost, up until recently, I always lived up in the absolute sticks of Maine, like in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by
really?
moose and trees. Oh, mate, I was in the middle of nowhere. I remember when I first moved over, I only had like 1.5 megasecond internet. It was horrific.
What?
Yeah, it was horrific. And a couple of years back, we moved down like to the kind of populated part of Portland, and I've started to get internet now. And now it was like, okay, well, maybe I can actually do this thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, with a following from YouTube, I decided, you know what, I'll play some Warzone. I'll play some games on Twitch.
Right.
And then before you know it, now I'm doing Twitch.
Yeah, dude.
now I'm Twitch.
And it's awesome, man. It's awesome because I know that, like I said before, when you were poking around, you kind of you asked me like a couple like real basic like streaming questions, and then because you were actually asking about like lighting, and then you ended up buying the lighting that you have right now, which is fire. But dude, it's so good to see you transition from YouTube to Twitch, because I mean, like, welcome aboard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's in here now.
Right.
How has that transition from YouTube to Twitch taken over? Are you liking live streaming a lot more, or would you still rather put out some YouTube here and there?
I'm definitely going to still do both. YouTube is still like my priority because that's where, the business is.
Right.
But Twitch is slowly but surely becoming kind of this giant in my little, I don't know, business that you would call it, I guess, my little media thing I've got going. And it's funny, when I first started chatting to you, I had no idea. And the reason I was looking for people was to get ideas, because I'm like, how do I even tackle this? Like, how do I tackle streaming? How do I go about it? And looking at setups and stuff, and you can kind of see, like, I've definitely taken inspiration from you,
dude.
and
I absolutely love your background. It looks so. It's like it's got that mix of like modern, new with like the classic books, and then all the goodies in the background. I see that, baby Yoda.
Yeah, with my green beret on his head. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I just started streaming, and luckily, because I had the audience already on YouTube, that they came over, and I've already met the requirements for partner like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. And I applied, didn't hear nothing, and then I randomly checked my emails like a couple of days ago and realized that I had like an email from like 10 days ago saying, by the way, you can be a partner now. I'm like, cool, okay, now I'm a partner. I don't know what it means, but sure.
Yeah, man, and which is amazing too, because that's always a big fear, especially going from one platform to another. Will people follow you? Will the majority of the community come over, hang out, and still want to be a part of it? So I know that jumping into that, it's got to be a little bit scary, being like, oh well, is anybody gonna show up?
Right. Well, this is the question I've been asking myself for a while now, because obviously, if we go back to my YouTube, so the way it started was I made like kind of advice and fitness videos for getting into the Commandos, and it was very basic, and I had about 5,000 subs for probably like 2 years.
Right.
And when my kid was born, I took a break. I thought, you know what, it was just a hobby anyway. I'm just going to take a break. And then during the whole pandemic thing, I said, you know what, I'm going to do a reaction video to a Call of Duty mission. Not a big deal.
And it blew up.
It blew up.
It's got over like 2 million some change views, right?
Exactly, yeah. But the problem was, right, so my core audience loved the reaction videos, and I started to put gameplay videos in there, and they started to slowly get up. And what I realized over time is that reaction videos, they get that crazy amount of views that people love, especially when it's something that's just come out. But they don't really create a community. They don't really keep people on board.
Right.
They just like they come and go and watch the reaction videos. So what I noticed was it was the gaming videos that really started to form a community. They really started to get people to come back.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. So now my channel's gone like from reaction and a bit of gaming, and I'm trying to bring it the opposite way.
Right.
And I think I hit Twitch at the perfect spot during that transition where it brought them people who watch the gaming videos over. And the way I did it as well, like I would publish a gaming video on a premiere on YouTube where it can like you can watch it live with your viewers.
Yeah.
And then what I would do is in the chat while they were watching it, I would be like, as soon as the video's ending, I'd be like, I'm live on Twitch right now. And it would bring people over.
Yeah.
And
that's
before
a great
you know
way
it,
to market it too. That's awesome.
Right, and that's how it got people, because people wanted to carry on watching.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, the video's ended. I might as well go and watch him live and maybe be able to chat to them. And it worked. I hit the nail on the head somehow. I don't know how I thought of it because I'm dumb as shit. And it worked. And it worked, mate. And now I'm doing okay on Twitch, I guess.
Yeah,
dude,
know? I love it. And that's and you know that is such a there is that portion of the viewer and like the subscriber that's out there that is, you know, they'll support you regardless, right? You know, whether it's YouTube or social media, whatever it may be. But there is that core group of audience that's like, man, I really like this guy. I would love to see him live. Like, I'd love to be able to watch him live consistently as opposed to just the YouTube videos. And then there's the flip side of that too, where people are like, oh, I just rather watch the YouTube video, not the live. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's super cool. Like, cause that's such a genius way to market it, especially when you're first starting out. Like, hey, here's this guy that you've been subbed to for a long time. And then as that video's ending, hey, by the way, you know, I'm live now. And people are like, oh, shit. Let me go watch this guy. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's all about keeping that attention.
Right.
You know? And some people just have this on in the background, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know my parents just play this in the background and just watch me.
Yeah.
And then if I turn around and say I'm live after this, then they'll be like, all right, well, we're just, you know, we're still just doing stuff and this is on in the background. So I'll just put the live one on. You know? And it transitions really well.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how I thought of that.
How is your relationship with your parents when it comes to this and it comes to what you're doing right now? What was their initial thoughts, you know, when you really started to take this seriously?
Well, so I've always been a bit of a loner, but my parents have always been so supportive, like incredibly supportive. You can go all the way back again to the military,
right?
Where like in England, you can join the military at 16, and that's what I did. I joined at 16, and
what?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's young, and I joined one of the branches that's like one of the most elite, toughest branches in the world.
Yeah,
and you know, my dad was in the military, so he kind of understood it a bit, but. They were supportive and they were like, you know what, if this is what you want to do, that's fine. And I think that's transitioned with everything. Moving to the States, they've been like, okay, you know, we're going to miss you, but if this is what you love and what you want to do, fine. And I think the same just happened with YouTube. I just, you know, they saw me doing the videos in the past, the older videos. And then when this blew up, they were like, I remember me mom and dad calling me and just being like, hey, do you think this is actually sustainable? Because, you know, you've got a kid now and another kid on the way.
What?
You know,
yeah, that's right, you do. That's why you guys are in this house now, huh?
Yeah, in like a month or two.
Dude.
Like end of September, yeah, we got another one on the way. So I've got responsibilities now, mate.
You're an adult, bro.
I'm an adult. So if I want to make this work, I have to make it work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I have to literally put the time in.
Yeah.
So they were a bit concerned about that, but if I ever told them, you know, it's gonna work, I'm gonna make it work. I have this curse and also blessing that when I'm determined to do something, I will do it, like no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like a curse and a blessing though, because sometimes that can be detrimental. And they know when I'm like, I'm gonna make it work, they're like, okay, he's gonna make it work. He's gonna figure it out, you know.
100%. Dude, that's a trait that I think that you and I definitely share, because I mean, it'll get to the point where it's not good for you or anyone, because you want it so bad. Like you want it so determined to make it happen. I mean, that was that was, originally starting out with this, like I was working a regular job at a boat shop. Like I was doing all of that, and whenever I ended up quitting and taking a risk on this, dude, I had like 100 subs on Twitch, and I had 2 months of rent in my pocket. And I said, we're gonna make this work. Like I'm doing this full time. We're gonna make this happen. Like, and that's a scary thing. But there's that drive that keeps you going, right? Like that's the thing that keeps you motivated and wants to get after it.
Yeah, it's about constantly trying to not only improve yourself, but improve the people around you and your surroundings.
Yeah.
Like I've been, since I moved over here, I started going back to university as well, because obviously in the military you don't get an education.
Right.
So I'm actually still in school, and like I've still got 2 semesters left. I'm going to be taking the fall semester off because of the kid.
Yeah.
And that'll actually be the first semester. But like, even though this is now a full-time job, I'm putting videos up every day.
Right.
I'm still like, I'm still getting my degree. Like,
dude,
there's no way I'm stopping. There's no way it's
crazy, dude. So Twitch full-time, YouTube full-time, school, being an adult, kid now, another kid on the way. Dude, I mean, if there's anybody that has a busier schedule, I mean, so please step forward. Like, what are we talking about? That's crazy. That's crazy.
You gotta put the time in, mate. You gotta put the time in. You gotta graft. You know what I mean? You gotta work hard, and you'll get the rewards from it in the end. You know what I mean? Like, it's only gonna benefit you in the long run.
Right.
If you work
absolutely.
hard. That's the way I see it. You know.
Absolutely, I'm 100% on board with that. So obviously you touched on a little bit of the military. For those of you that don't know, or for those of the people that don't know, including me, lay it on me, man. So, where were you? What were you? Like, tell me everything.
So in England, so obviously over here you have U.S. Marines, right? In England you have Marines, but they're a little bit more. They're a little bit different. They're a little bit. I wouldn't say. You can't say a military is better. You can never say that.
That's what I was waiting for, dude. Oh man, yeah, they're way better.
But they're a little bit more, I'd say specialized in a way.
Okay.
And the way you kind of see it is if you could get the U.S. Marines and the SEALs and kind of mix them together.
Okay.
That's kind of like what it is.
Okay.
So you can join at 16. It's called the Royal Marine Commandos, right? Or the Royal Marines Commandos. And a bit of history, they used to be just the Royal Marines, and then during World War II, they made like a very specialized branch that were kind of like special forces called the Commandos. And then after a while, they ended up just merging it and being like, it's just going to be one thing. And there's only I think it's like 5,000 or 6,000 altogether active. That's it.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And they say that the training is the toughest basic military training in the world. And I know that I'm sure like a lot of militaries say that about their branches. So it's kind of hard to gauge it.
Yeah.
But the training's hard. The training is 100% difficult.
Really?
Like, oh yeah. They did an advert when I was young, and the advert was literally 99.99% need not apply, and it was just like a cool, but that's actually the statistic of people who don't pass training, and it's difficult. You go through these 32 weeks of basic training that ends in the Commando test. It's called. It's 4 tests over 4 days. It's an assault course that's 30 foot in the air. You've got to be done in 12 minutes, and it's like a sprint.
Right.
You've got the endurance course, which is 2 miles through tunnels crawling, and then a 4-mile sprint back to camp. It's got to be done within an hour. You've got a 9-mile speed march. You run as a troop. And then you've got the last one where you get your Green Beret at the end of it. It's called the 30-miler, where you run 30 miles over what's called it's called Dartmoor. It's like the moors, like hills.
Okay.
There's no reference points. You nav it in a small team. You got like 6 or 7 hours to do it. And when you finish it, you get your Green Beret. Now, them tests sound difficult, and they are difficult. But what's more difficult is the fact that there's 32 weeks of horrific training before them tests.
Right. Yeah. So your body's beat up, you're sore, you're tired. Like.
Yeah. They actually say, they got medical staff in, and they say that when you pass Royal Marines training, it takes your body a year to recover, like a whole year to recover. And it makes sense. Like I've seen people, I fell off the 30-foot rope and did a bunch of damage to my ankle. A friend of mine did the same and broke his back. Like things happen a lot. Yeah, it's horrific. So to go to my story, let's transition to my story in the Royal Marines. So I was always that fat kid that, like, I had a brother who was really fit.
Right.
And we went to Sea Cadets because my dad was in the Navy. And he was like a hero. We had like this whole story about him where, he was a gunner in the Falklands War, and he pretty much saved the ship.
Holy hell. Your dad?
It was in, yeah, it was like there's
Holy
books about it
hell.
and everything. Yeah, yeah. So there was this idol to me, and I love my dad to bits, and he's this idol that I always wanted to be like, but I was like the runt of the litter.
Right.
There's me and my big brother. My big brother was fit. We was at Sea Cadets, which is kind of like, I don't know if you have cadets over here. Kind of like scouts, kind of in a way, where you go and you go on field trips and you like learn basic
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. Yeah. We have
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's like a Sea Cadet one, and it's also the Royal Marines are actually still part of the Navy, just so you know.
Okay.
So the Sea Cadets also have like a Marine Cadet thing where it's just young people learning basic skills, and my dad was kind of volunteering there to help out. My brother was a part of the Sea Cadets, and I was this like chubby kid who was too young to join but was super eager, and I felt like I was always kind of in the way, and I
Right.
felt like I always had something to prove.
Yeah.
And like I went through high school, I was still chubby, and I just got fed up of it. I got fed up, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go in the military. It started with just, I'm going in the military.
Right.
And sure enough, with me and my stupid amount of determination, thinking I only want to do the best of the best. I've always had this thing where it's like, everything I do, I buy, I see, I touch, it's got to be the best. Everything.
Dude, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go for the Marines. And everyone's like, yeah, sure. No way. It's not going to happen. You're chubby, you're fat, whatever. So I ran every single day. I had long hair, shaved it all off, like completely shaved it off. And I was so determined to the point where like every time someone said that I weren't going to do it, we had Royal Marines go to my school to do like this presentation.
Right.
And unfortunately, I was actually sick that day, so I didn't see it. But I knew it was happening. And I remember going back to school and my IT teacher, this little hobbit woman, like 70-year-old hobbit woman, I remember her saying, you are not going to get in the Marines. It's not going to happen. You need to work hard at school. I remember her saying that. And this fire inside me was like, you little turd. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea what I'm capable of. So, as per, kept doing it. I managed to get in. I know that I was on the front page of the local newspaper as well when I got in and got my Green Beret. And
really?
I know she reads it every day. She reads it every day.
Good,
yes.
So
I just know it. I got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went through training. I got injured halfway through training, but they kind of put you in like a rehab troop, and then I got back in training again.
Good.
And then I got my Green Beret, right? This incredible achievement, and it's still one of the biggest achievements in my life.
Right.
But then what happened was when I actually went to a unit, it's as if you hold something so high on a pedestal, and then when you actually kind of go to, it's like, when people say you should never meet your idol.
Yes.
It was kind of like that, because what happened was I went in and I got to a unit, and because I was so young, again, I had that same thing happen to me where I was like the runt of a litter.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there was this corporal who was a sergeant but got demoted for reasons which are obviously silly. And I'm sure this guy had a lot of bad history because he did a lot of tours. He had a lot of things mentally wrong with it. And he bullied me. He bullied me when I was in this troop, and I got beat up, and I was in this really bad place. And it destroyed me, mate. And then eventually when I got out, I was drinking, and I was in a bad place, mate, all the way up until probably like 6-7 years ago when I met my wife.
Wow, really?
It went from I achieved this incredible goal that I was so proud of and getting up there to then just being like, you're still not good enough. You're still, and it just destroyed me, mate. It destroyed me. But I did also have amazing times in the Royal Marines. I always say that I had the best time of my life, but also the worst time of my life in there. Because there were some times when, I made some incredible friends. We went out and did anti-piracy. We did some incredible training, but then there was also that dark side, and sometimes one dark thing can
ruin
knock over 10 good things.
Exactly.
So, and this is why I still make videos about the Royal Marines and stuff, because it's still a big part of my life.
Of course.
It still made me the man I am today.
Of course.
It's still a big part. And I like to warn people, especially at a young age, all these 14, 15-year-olds coming, hey, I want to join the Royal Marines. I'm like, oh, hold up.
maybe let's talk about this real quick.
Let's have a look at what you want right now, and let's assess the situation.
It's crazy. It's crazy how many I feel like how many of those stories happen every single day to not only people across all branches of the military. That stuff happens every single day where you get one good apple who's really wanting to make something happen, and then the bad apple ruins everything for it, and that sucks. That sucks, especially when you hold something to such high regard, and you're especially, dude, that burning passion to finally make it and to get it to get things going, and then to get there and be, well, fuck you, like that sucks, man.
Yeah,
sucks.
but now that I've had time to reflect on it and kind of think about it, it was such a good lesson learned.
Right.
It was such a good lesson learned where it's like, I should still be striving for the best like I was then. And that's why I'm still doing everything I'm trying to do today. I'm still striving for the best. But, and to quote a very good book of mine that I like to read, it's journey before destination.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's the journey of achieving that. And when you achieve it, that's cool, but that's nothing compared to the journey, and you've just got to find the next goal.
Right.
You can't just sit there and be happy with what you've achieved. You've got to constantly be trying to improve. Now, and not to let people take this in the wrong way. I don't mean that, like, there's this kind of like modern day thing where you entrepreneurs should always be working every day, 24/7. You should be grafting every day.
Dude.
No.
Dude, no. Yeah.
No. What you should be doing is you should be obviously making time for yourself, playing video games, reading books, watching TV, whatever you want to do. Okay. But the time that you do spend, even if it's just 2 or 3 hours a day doing that one thing that's going to improve you, that time that you use is the most optimized, best version of yourself possible.
Right.
Right. Because if you could do 8 hours, that's kind of, 24 hours, as all these new entrepreneurs say.
Dude.
And it could be terrible.
Yeah.
It could be terrible.
Yeah.
But if you do 2 hours that's spot on and that's really well produced and really well worked, that's better than anything.
100%. I'm so on board with that, because that used to be our motto, and I don't have a military background other than, like, both of my parents are military, but I've got a extensive sports background, and when you're tired. And when you're tired, you make mistakes, and those mistakes turn into bad habits, and bad habits turn into bad quality all the way across the board. So why not take 2 hours, give it everything you got, 100%, and then from there, make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why do I hate that. I hate that new stigma of things where it's like, you got 24 hours in a day. You'll be fine on 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep, make everything happen. Dude, approaching the end of the day, I am dead. Like I can't do that. I can't do the 3, 4 a.m. be up at 9, 10 a.m. Like, what are we talking about? Like, dude, that's not, and I also think that plays such a big role in mental health too. Your mental really starts to take a toll, and especially in what we do now, people get burnt out in this quick. Especially on live streaming side, I've seen a lot of good friends quit because they've just been too burnt out. They've been too, they didn't take any time for themselves to really, like, relax and recover. Cause that's a big portion of this too, is, being able to recover not only helps you yourself, but it also helps your content, man. Like, if you're constantly on the roll, and there's no breaks, there's no stopping, you're not coming up with fresh ideas because you don't have a break. And that sucks. I really hate to see that too, but it's such a common thing in this industry now. People not taking breaks.
Yeah, and I think this industry definitely has like this stigma of, oh, well, you're playing video games for a living. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, I've had a lot of people that are just like, oh, you're just gonna go and play a video game. It's like, well, it's not just that. There's so much back end you've got to do. There's so much research you've got to do. There's so much, analytics you've got to analyze.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that goes on behind the camera.
Right.
That people are completely oblivious to. And if they are completely oblivious to it, you're doing the right thing first and foremost.
It's very true, actually. Yeah.
You're doing the right thing. But there's so much hard work, mate. There is so much hard work.
I've talked with a lot of different content creators over the past on this podcast about that exact topic. Where people are people just look at it as, oh, like, you just press start streaming and you're good to go. Like you just play video games and you make money. That's awesome. Well, That's not the case, man. Like there's so much that goes into this all the way across the board that unless you're in it, you'll never understand.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
You'll never
100.
understand it. It's so
Yeah.
insane, and I can't. And I've just recently started to even I have changed my entire schedule so that it gives me the opportunity to be able to have that mental break, that mental rest, but then also be able to have more time to put into other avenues of content. Like, I mean, obviously, for instance, this podcast is one of them. You know, I used to stream twice a day, every day. So in the morning, in the evening. But I just felt like I felt like not like stagnant. I didn't feel like I was being 100% of who I am, right? Giving 100% of everything I can. And so obviously I wanted to do, like I said, other avenues, and switching up the schedule gave me that opportunity, but it also gave me the break that I needed sometimes, you know, during the day,
Yeah.
like whether it be to and by no means am I saying I'm like some, you know, fit animal, right? But you know, I just recently started taking my physical health into account because, you know, I've been just a shithead over the past, you know, 6-7 months, especially moving up here. You know, when I moved up here, I was drinking a bunch and eating whatever and not really doing anything. And now I feel so much better, not only having that mental break, but then also giving my body what it needs, you know, to like keep it going and to keep improving it throughout the day. And I can't stress that enough, man. It's such a good feeling to be able to do all that.
Yeah, and if you stay healthy physically, like the amount that helps your actual content is crazy.
It's so
Like
weird.
you reflect. If you like, I go for a run. Like that's my thing that I like doing. I like going for runs, and it's like my meditation. You know,
Right,
in
yeah.
fact, that's what it actually is. It is meditation at the end of
Right.
the day. And there's so much you can reflect on, whether that's family things or your work or anything. But there's been times where content wise you're kind of stagnant and you're like, okay, well, how can I improve it? And you're just brainstorming for hours and you're like, what's that one thing I could do that
Right.
can just get the nail on the head? And you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to take a break, go for a run. You go for a run and then boom,
And
it's
there
there.
it
Like,
is. Every time. Every single
time.
time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm a big I'll listen to music here and there, but you know, I'll listen to podcasts the majority of the time. So I do hikes. I throw on like a plate carrier, and it's a weighted vest, essentially what it is. And you know, I'll go on a long hike and I'll listen to a podcast, and you know, somebody might say something in there and somehow that translates to the idea that I was looking for, or even a better idea that comes off of that, which is so awesome, you know.
Yeah, it
And
definitely
that wouldn't
sparks
happen that would not happen without that time. It's weird because when you're brainstorming, you're by yourself, right? The majority of the time.
Yeah.
You know, I run ideas by friends and my girlfriend and all that stuff, but the majority of the time, your ideas come from you, you and you alone. And you know, it's weird. You're sitting inside, you're brainstorming, you can't figure anything out, and then finally you're like, all right, let me just go outside, go on a walk, run, hike, whatever it may be, and there it is. It's like your brain is in another gear. It's so weird, man.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
And ideas come and go. And the way I see it is, if you get an idea, think about it for a bit, ponder on it, see if it works, maybe dabble a bit on your computer. And if it doesn't, just let it be and let it go, because there's been so many times as well. Yeah, let things go. It's okay to just be like, you know what, that's not going to work. Even if you put time into it, it's not going to work. It's it's not going to help. Let's just leave it be. And I think going for runs, it helps even reflects with that. Like if you're making something, you're like, oh, I'm really hyped about this, really good, and you're adding different bits to it, and then you go and exercise, and you're like, actually, wait, tone it down a bit. What are we doing here? What's the idea between this new type of podcast or whatever it is you're doing?
Right.
What can we do with it, and how can we make it better? But exercise, man, it's like this weird kind of free drug.
Dude, and it's so weird because you're so right, and it was something that I never subscribed to growing up. Obviously I played a bunch of sports, and exercise was a part of that. But I never looked at it as something that I would just do for myself. It was always to improve in the sport I was playing. So and now, granted, I work harder when it came to like, exercising on my own, but I would work harder on the field of whatever sport I was doing. So I would take extra reps. I would hit longer in the cages, whatever it may be, but never would I be like, hey, let me go on a little bit longer of a run. Let me do any of that. And now as I've gotten older and I've really looked at myself and been like, dude, like what are we doing, man? Like, dude, Sundays are my like relaxing days. And come the end of Sunday, I'd taken the day off to relax. And even on Sunday, I was like, I feel like a piece of garbage not going outside. Like I didn't do anything today. Like, it almost eats at you now. Like, especially for me.
Especially when you get older.
Right.
Like you're like, like sometimes, it's nice sometimes to have days where you just do nothing. That's fine. That's okay.
Of course.
But it does niggle at your brain where even the days where you do nothing, it's like, maybe I should just, maybe I should go for a run today. Maybe I should just get outside for a bit. And I mean, also fitness it translates not just to physical exercise, but mental exercise where like meditating and doing yoga, mate.
Right.
Oh my days.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny how when I left the military and I met my wife and I came over here, I was super boys boy, kind of boisterous and, yoga or anything like that. I don't need that,
Yeah.
And then I met my wife and she's super into yoga and all that lot. And I gave it a go. And it's funny. So the test for the Royal Marines is a 3-mile run. You got to do it under 20 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
Jesus.
Nothing crazy. It's fast, but it's not crazy. Like it's nothing like people can do it. It's not crazy. So, as I was leaving the Marines and like my fitness, even though I was drinking a lot and stuff, my 3 miles was anywhere between 22 to 24 minutes, kind of there or thereabouts. That was my happy place where I wasn't crazy fit, but I wasn't unfit.
Right.
And it was there for like 3 years. It was there in between them 22, 24, and maybe like 23-ish. And I thought, I'll give this yoga a try. I'll give it a try.
Dude.
Straight 22 below, mate. Every time. Like out of nowhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, mate. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And I think it also just helps you get to know your body more.
100%.
In a way that you didn't realize,
100%. I was in that same boat. So I ended up getting to college and we ended up having to do yoga. It was a mandatory, like, here's how you get your day started. Here's how we get practice started, like whatever it may be. And I remember hearing that before I left, and I was like, you know what? Let me start doing some yoga on my own. So like I went to like a couple of classes, and dude, not only is there so many like there's so many beneficial things that come with doing yoga, but also it kicks your ass, dude. It's hard,
mate.
Bro. You're just standing there. It's so hard.
Yeah, I went to a yoga class when I first moved over with my wife, and I was the only guy there. Mm-hmm. Bunch of old women.
Yeah.
I was a personal trainer at the time, so relatively fit. And I'm thinking, it's going to be kind of like a bore fest, but it's fine. Like these old women were doing these poses like it was nothing, and I was sweating.
Dude, you're pouring sweat. Like, dude, this sucks, man.
Yeah. It was like being in a sauna.
It is, man. And then there's the people that do hot yoga, where it's 100 degrees in there, dude. I mean, God kill me. That's so insane. I couldn't imagine.
I bet it feels good after it, but I've not done that.
No, I haven't done it either.
I can't deal with the heat, mate. I cannot deal with it.
Same. I can't do it.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask. So I didn't get this exactly. How long were you in the Royal Marines for?
So I was in for 4 years. Okay. Right. So went in at 16. This is actually a funny story. I went in at 16 and left at 20. That was when I did my 4 years. And I left so it was like September 2012. I left, and I think it was like October or something like that. We went on vacation to Florida. This was before I met my wife or anything before I even thought I was going to live in the US.
Yeah.
And we were in Florida, me and my brother. We thought we'll get the beers, and we'll go to the store, we'll get the beers in, and we'll have a couple of beers. And so we go to this grocery store, and we get a keg of beer or whatever, a stack of beer, and we get to the counter, and I'm like, well, you got to be 21. So I'm like, I'll let my brother buy it. The woman, sure enough, said, have you got ID as well? Because I was with him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't have ID. I'm 20. She's like, oh, you're only a baby. And I thought, only a baby? I just finished 4 years in the British Royal Marine Commandos, earning a Green Beret, going abroad, doing anti-piracy, just to be told I can't drink a beer because I'm a baby. I was like,
hey, welcome to America, man. Welcome to America. Isn't that insane? My parents are such big advocates for that. You know, they're on the side, and truly, I'm on that side too, without a question. My parents always subscribe to the fact that, you know, if you can join up, you should be able to at whatever age that you can join up, you should be able to have a beer. Like, it's insane that is our laws. Okay, like that's wild.
Like, I can sign up for the military at 16, but I can't play Call of Duty until I'm 18. Like, what? Like, what?
Insane. What are we talking about?
I know. What are we doing here,
What
guys?
are we talking about? So how'd you end up meeting your wife? Did you meet her overseas, over here, or back at home?
I met her over here. So yeah, I left in 2012. I got offered this close protection job in Russia and a bunch of other weird stuff.
Wait, what?
It's a long story. It pays incredible. Like, it pays incredible, close protection.
Right.
You know, like protecting like news anchors and all these people who go out and,
like, diplomats and stuff like that too, or
yeah, just bodyguards basically. Okay. Like, and I thought, well, you know what, this is cool and all, but I kind of want to travel a bit. You know, everywhere I've traveled to has been like the asshole of the world. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I can't imagine they're sending the Royal. I can't imagine they're sending the Royal Marines down to Hawaii for the week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I thought, you know what, I'll do a bit of traveling. So there's this program called Camp America in England, where, or it's actually a worldwide thing where American summer camps hire internationals because, first and foremost, it's cheaper. Secondly, we're just, even though we're getting paid pennies, we're just happy to go abroad and just kind of chill.
Yeah.
And they pay for everything, food, you know, all that's all paid for. So I thought, you know what, save up a couple grand. I'll go and do this Camp America. So, you know, sure enough, I signed up. I went to this conference. I beelined straight to this. So there was a bunch of different summer camps in this conference in London, and they're all hiring people. And I see this one in the corner, and on the sign that it says, like, they all had signs of like what they need.
Right.
You know, like soccer coaches, you know, swimmers and all this stuff. And this one said rifle expert or rifle trainer.
Whoa.
So I thought, hey, cool. That's right on my alley.
That's your lane. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went straight to him. I was like, hey, you know, like, I was in the British Royal Marine Commandos. A riflery expert would be right up my alley. And they hired me on the spot there and then. And then summer 2013, I came over. It just so happened to be Maine. It was just where it was, in the middle of nowhere in Maine. I literally didn't even know where Maine was when I signed up, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I didn't even know where Maine was.
Dude, let me tell you, as an American, I still don't know what Maine is or where Maine is, okay? So, yeah.
So we go up to this. I get there, 2013. I fly over. All the flights are paid for as well, by the way, by them. That's why it's kind of like a cool.
Yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
Fun, you know? So we get over there, and at the time, I was still drinking a little bit and stuff, you know.
Of course.
Because I was a bit nuts. And I just went out in this crappy bar on 4th of July, right?
Was that your first ever 4th of July?
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. What were your thoughts on that?
It was fun. It was fun.
Of course.
Like, you know, like, people, you get all the kids at the summer camp, oh, we beat you in the war. And I'm like, I wasn't in the war. Like, I'm from England. My family stayed in England. Like, they're English. Like, they stayed there.
Right.
Okay. I wasn't part of it. Don't worry about it. So it was fun, you know. It's a good laugh, and I you know, a couple shots, bit tipsy, and genuinely. So she was with. All I remember of meeting my wife, right, is she was with a pack of her friends, all in a circle, and I'm drunk, and I just walk up right into the middle of the circle, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? You're really cute. You're really cute. Do you fancy having a bit of a chat?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." And that was it. We hit off, and we had a great time chatting, and it was funny because the second time I met her, she had to add me on like Facebook because I didn't have a US phone number or anything.
Yeah.
So she hit me up on Facebook, and she's like, "Hey, when's your next day off from the camp? We're going floating down the river." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Being the idiot that I was at the time, I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Don't know what that means, but whatever. So she drives up, she picks me outside of this camp. I get in this car. I don't even know, like, I hardly know her.
Right.
She picks me up in this car, and I'm like, "Just so you know, I have to be back before midnight." She's like, "Yeah, sure, it's fine." So I'm like, okay. So we start driving, and she's like, "Okay, we're going to pick up a bunch of my friends, and we're going to float down the river." And I'm still like, "Yeah, sure, whatever that means. Yeah, sure." So we pick up like 3 of her friends, just me and a bunch of girls, a bunch of lilos, right? And like blow up beds.
Yeah.
Already blown up, stuffed into this car. And we just get onto this river, and we just start floating down this river. I'm like, all we have is canals full of trolleys and dead animals in England. And we're floating down this river in Maine with moose and bald eagles and everything. I'm just sat on this like double inflatable bed, right?
Right.
Floating down this river with Steph next to me, burnt to shit. Like I burnt like crazy.
Dude,
And it was one of the it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Like seriously, it was amazing.
This is so funny to hear because anybody that's ever gone like floating a river for their first time is exactly like you, where they get toasted. No, like everybody gets fried right off the rip. And then, dude, to hear it from your perspective as an English lad,
it was so bizarre. Do you know what was even better? When she dropped me off, she's like, "That was really fun." I was like, "Yeah, cool. Like, keep check. We'll hang out some more before the end of the summer camp and stuff." So I get back to the camp, and the lads are like, "What was this girl like? What did you do?" And I'm like, "Guys." like literally looking like a lobster. Like I had blisters on the back of my legs. It was that bad, right? And I'm like, guys, I just spent 5 hours floating down the river on a double bed with some American girls. It was amazing. We found a mudslide, a swing. There was bald eagles. They're like, are you high? Like what? Like what?
They just couldn't believe it. Like you got in a river and let it push you down it.
Went down the river. That was it for 5 hours.
Holy hell!
But it was one of the, it was our first date, and it was like one of the best experiences ever. And sure enough, like obviously I went home, and we still text a lot. Like we still texted a lot, and we really liked each other. But like I kind of had this thing in my head where it's like, cool, we'll stay in contact. We had a great time.
Right.
Really good friends now. And then I remember like a month after being home, she's like, "Look, I've never left the country, but I am flying to England to come and see you." And she's like, "I'll bring my friend, but we're coming to see you." And I was like, "Cool, you can stay at my place." I was actually just got out of the Marine, so I didn't have a place. I was living with my mom and dad. So I'm like, "Mom, Dad, just so you know, 2 American girls are coming and staying with us for 3 weeks. Big deal."
What was their reaction to that?
They were just like, "Yep, sounds like you. Sure, whatever." So. Yeah, they turned up, and just so that her friend wasn't kind of like, a third wheel, I invited one of my friends to stay at the house for the time that we were there. And it was a blast. And then at the end of it, we were just like, let's just try and make this work. Let's just, see how it goes. Because we really liked each other. But there was this horrible thing in between us, which was this giant ocean.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we were just like, let's just try and make it work. And then, years went by, and we decided, I spent the whole summer there. I saved up money and just spent the summer there, 3 months, as long as my visa would stay. And I stayed there for 3 months, hung out with her. And then we just, after a while, we're just like, let's get married, because that's like the best way to kind of be together. Like, it's the only way to do it. So we did that. Do you seen the show, the 30-Day Fiance thing?
Dude, yeah.
We did it. We did the 30-day thing.
Crazy.
They actually, so that company who did that show, they just started when they emailed me and was like, "Do you want to be part of it?"
What?
I was like, no.
Yeah, dude, you get pretty roasted on that show, man. You turned into a meme real quick.
Exactly, yeah. So and I moved over here, and that was it. I moved over 2015, and 3 or 4 days ago, I applied for my citizenship, and that's it.
Dude,
there we go.
Congratulations to that, man. Now, what made you be like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the U.S. as opposed to she's gonna come over here? Yeah.
So, like I said, I got out in the military, and I had that close protection thing that was kind of like lingering. I had a few other jobs here and there, but it was mostly like I had no ties.
Right.
There was nothing tying me down, and Steph was actually still at university.
Oh, okay.
So it just made logistical sense for me to be over here.
Yeah.
We've thought about moving back over there. It's definitely something that's on our mind.
Right.
Especially now with the kids, and we're thinking about school and all that lot. It's like, where do we want them to grow up? And I had such a good childhood in Manchester. Like that city is like, honestly, I get goosebumps and get emotional when I think about how beautiful and amazing that city is.
Really?
And even though like Maine is beautiful.
Of course, yeah.
Maine is, especially in the fall. Oh my days, I've never seen anything so beautiful.
I'm gonna try and get up there during the fall of this year, because I've always wanted to see it.
You're more than welcome to come stay over here. We got spare room.
Always wanted to see it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and but then you got to think, like money wise, we get free healthcare over there. It's expensive here, but housing is super cheap, dirt cheap over here compared to England. England's expensive for everything,
right?
Apart from healthcare,
right?
And schooling.
Yeah.
Healthcare and schooling. So it's like, pros and cons. Like, you know, now that we've got kids, what do we think about? So for now, we're staying here because getting a house is cheaper.
Of
You know,
course.
I've started this business now, and it's a cheaper way of living.
Right.
Things are cheaper, but you know, it's always the option's always there now.
Of course.
My kids,
Yeah.
dual citizenship. My kids got dual citizenship. You know.
Yeah,
So
dude, that's wild.
yeah. So it's just a case of all we'd have to do is sort Steph out to move over.
That's actually
So,
true. And you know, man, you talk about the those other protection jobs that you had. I know quite a few guys that I know one really close friend of mine. He's actually he's about to take another one. He's been out for a little bit, and he's gonna take another one overseas. In the same boat, dude. That's got to be hard to give up because I know the money's there. I know the money's there.
Yeah,
dude,
and I think
that's so. I can't believe that. I can't believe how much money is in that. It's so dude.
yeah.
Being giving up that sounds like a tough day.
Yeah, I moved over and I had to get a job. I worked at GameStop. Like,
what? Did you really?
Yeah. Just for like 6 months, I worked at GameStop just to kind of make some pennies. You know, just to kind of. The thing was, right, like I could have done that. I could have applied to other, you know, even if that one didn't go through, and I could have applied to other maritime security or close protection jobs. But at the end of the day, I thought to myself, one of the big reasons why I left the military in the first place was like my brother, 2 years older than me, at uni, partying, enjoying life,
right?
And I was like stuck in the trenches crying because I'm soaking wet, like,
right?
You know, like just like crappy stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I'm kind of missing my childhood here. Like I'm missing a lot of my childhood where I should be out having fun. And then this popped along, and I'm sure, like, I know I'm still friends with the guy that invited me to do it, and he has a lot of fun. Like he has a lot of fun, but the danger's still there. And I was just like, you know what? I think I'm just done with it. I think, you know, there's just other things that I'd rather be doing now, you know.
Yeah, and I can imagine. I was going to ask, you know, is that thought still in your head of, hey, should I go back for a little bit and make some extra cash? But I can imagine now with the kids and the wife, you know, like, dude, that's got. I feel like that is definitely a single man's gig. You know,
100% it's a single man's gig, 100%, because you're just away all the time. And granted, you meet people, people have wives and stuff, but the marriage success, even in the special forces and military, is slim to none.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and it's just heartache for everyone involved. So I don't know. It just, you know, I met Steph and I was happy, and I thought, you know, like if I'm happy, I'm happy, and there's no money that can change that. Do you know what I mean? Like, people put money on a pedestal too much, and at the end of the day, if you're happy, then what's the point in having extra digits in your account if it's going to be the same amount of happiness? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I completely understand that. One thing that I did want to talk about too with you was, you know, you said whenever you first started your channel, and even now, when kids come up to you or kids talk with you or want to know more about, like, all right, you know, I want to join the Royal Marines, that kind of thing, and you kind of like, okay, hang on, let's see where your head's at, that type of deal. How often are you getting messages or whatever it may be, whatever the form of communication is, that it's like, hey man, what should I do?
Mate, you have no idea.
Really?
My Instagram DMs, like, infinite.
Really?
Like I can't get through them all. I literally can't get through them all. Instagram, my Discord DMs, Twitter DMs. Actually, Twitter is one of the better ones because I've only just started Twitter. I should have probably said that. Now it's going to blow up in it with DMs.
Hey, be sure you guys DM him solely on Twitter.
But like, there's just so many, and it's difficult because a lot of the questions are the same.
Of course.
And I don't want to keep repeating myself. And
of course.
And it's a case of like, you know, I'm 14. How can I convince my parents? I'm 16. Is it a good idea? How can I improve my press ups? And it's like, I get it. Like I was in that position, but you, like, for fitness wise, you have like tests. You got to do, what's the test? You got to do your 3 miles under 20 minutes. You got to do 60 press ups in 2 minutes, 80 sit ups in 2 minutes, 7 clean pull ups to the beep, and then like a bleep test and some other little bits.
Right.
The only way you're going to improve in them is doing them.
Of course. Right.
That's the only way you're going to improve in them. Well, because I'm on YouTube and because people think I have this secret, like, way of doing it.
What is that?
And they want to know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Why does everybody think because you have like a following or like a social media, a high count of numbers across all these different things, why does everybody think that you've got it. Like you've got the secret sauce.
You know what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
At the end of the day, I got the Green Beret by waking up in the morning doing press ups, going before bed doing some press ups.
Right. That's
It's
it.
Bobby basics. It's you got to stick to the Bobby basics.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and then the question with the whole like, can I convince my parents I'm 14? I want to go in the room. It's such a question that's so different between families and between family dynamics and you know what I mean? Like it's hard to be like say this to them and it'll convince them.
Of course.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like you can't do you've got to talk to your family. You got to be like, this is what I want to do. And if they don't agree with you, wait until you're 18 and then do it if you still want to do
it.
Like,
dude, that's got to be such a hard thing to deal with, because 14 is so young. Dude, like you're still molding. Your mind is still molding to what to who you truly are. God, that's got to be so. Dude, if I look back at when I was 14 and I went with the decisions that I wanted to do at 14, at 16, we would not be talking right now. Okay, like how insane? That's crazy.
Exactly. Like if I joined the Royal Marines at probably 18 instead of 16, I probably wouldn't have been bullied. I probably would have had a completely different mindset, and maybe I'd still be in the Royal Marines.
Right? Yeah.
You don't know this stuff. I'm happy for what happened. I'm happy for how I went about it. But like, if someone's asking me, I want to join at 16, I'm going to give them my opinion at 28-year-old.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, not a 16-year-old opinion, because nothing was going to stop me at 16. Even if someone in the forces told me that I could do it or couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Nothing was going to stop me. But things changed. Like, I don't even think I knew who I really was until I was like 25, 26.
I feel like that's for most people. That's most people where you're at. Same. I'm in the same boat.
Who I am. Like, I'm still figuring it out, guys.
Everybody is all the way through life, man. You're always figuring it out.
Yeah, it's such a elaborate question that it just doesn't have an answer for it. It has a discussion behind it, probably,
right?
But not a straight answer.
Does anybody that's actually in the Royal Marines, like, actively ever hit you up and ask opinions, questions, anything like that?
I've had surprisingly, right, because my old fitness videos are pretty old now. I've had people message me saying, "You helped me get in, and I'm in the Marines now."
Really?
Which is, to me, is just mind blowing. I have a lot of former Royal Marines who message me now. Like I've been on a podcast with another guy who's a lot older than me. Who was in. I've got a few friends now. I've got one guy who I play Wildlands with on some of the weekend videos, and he's active still in the Royal Marines right now.
Really?
And
wow.
He streams. He has a channel and he streams and everything. He's actively still right now. Yeah. So I do have people that I talk to a lot, and it's funny how when I left the Royal Marines, I felt so isolated because of the incidents that I felt like the Royal Marines didn't want anything to do with me. I felt like they hated me or whatever. And then now that I'm older and I talk to some of them Royal Marines and I tell them about some of my experiences, they're like, "It happened to me. This happened to me. I get it. This,
really?
You know what I mean?" And it's like, I'm not alone. Like, not the bullying. The bullying is very far between.
Yeah.
But just like the little things, like we call it being seen off, where they put you on a crappy thing to do, and you don't realize it until you're actually doing it, and they kind of manipulate it. Not the Royal Marines, but the military in general.
Of course,
or just the mentality between like the pack, like mentality and stuff, where you're like, you're not one of us, you can't,
Yeah.
And the amount of people I've spoken to, and they're like, I get it. I've seen it. I've done that, and some people have said I've been part of it, and I'm trying to improve it.
Right.
And it's really changed my perspective on how I talk about the Royal Marines on the channel, because I would make these videos, and I would be so worried that someone would come out and be like, "I know you. You were the one that was bullied, and you're an idiot, and you're this, and you're that," and I'd have that anxiety again where I'm like, "Oh my god!"
And you're back in that hole.
Yeah. And now I'm just like, you know what? I've got this better knowledge about it. I've spoke to people. I understand it. I've reflected on my experience. And now I feel like more like a Royal Marine than I ever have before. And honesty.
That's crazy. After all these years.
Dude, this time. And now, I feel part of it now.
God. And all it takes is just a little bit of reflection to really look back and go, damn. Yeah. God, that's so crazy to think about. There's so many cases like you that go unheard, man, when it comes to the bullying. Of course, and that's such a horrible thing. I mean, you hear about them few and far between. which sucks, man. I know it happens all across the world, but for you to be able to come out of that isolation mode and produce content that people want to see and people really enjoy is such an incredible thing to do, because most people can't get out of that. Right. That most people can't get out of that hole once they're in it. And so to be able to transition from that, I don't feel like I'm welcomed, I don't feel like I'm a part of anything, to producing content that uplifts people and brings happiness and takes them away. Because I guarantee you, maybe not listening to this podcast, but that might be true. Somebody maybe is listening to this podcast and can kind of feel it too. But your content can take away from someone who was maybe going through the same thing that you were going through at one point in time. Take their mind off it for 20, 30 minutes, whatever it may be, and that's improving lives without even knowing it. Because most people never, all that stuff never gets reported, right? And so for someone to be able to take their mind off of the dog shit that's going on, whether it be military wise, they're getting bullied at school, on the internet, whatever, they just hate everything. You doing that is such an incredible thing, man. I love it.
Yeah, I think it definitely does help. It definitely helps. I think also going back to the bullying is that it's such a downward spiral where the first kind of like instance of when it happens, you have a reaction to it, and usually that reaction that you have to the bullying makes the bullying worse. So for me, it was, I joined this troop. So I can actually go into details on how it all started and stuff. Basically, the way it runs is you have fire teams and then a troop. So a troop is like 10 people, including 2 corporals and a corporal and a lance corporal. But it's like 4 Marines and 4 Marines and then 2 kind of senior people.
Okay.
And I joined this fire team, and in the other fire team was this corporal who, was the aggressor. But what happened was, I was down at a different unit. I was doing what's called BCR, battle casualty replacement, where, if someone's on operation, they get hurt or have to come home for a birth or whatever it is.
Okay.
I replace. But I didn't get sent out, which is fair enough. I just didn't. And it's kind of like a nice thing to not be sent out, because obviously I wanted to go out, but it means no one was injured or anything like that. Right. So that's kind of true. Yeah. Yeah. So I get sent back up to my home unit, right? But my home unit was, when I got there, they were like, okay, your position's been full. We're going to put you in a new troop because we're getting ready to deploy now. So we're doing like 6 months of pre-deployment training. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to put in this new troop. It's fine. I'll get to know them, whatever. And what happened was, if you can imagine, like literally, this is how it is, right? There's like a room of 4 beds, and next to it is like a room, well, across the way is like a room of other 4 beds for the other fire team, right? Okay. And then it's like a separate room for the corporals. The bed that I was in, the guy that was in there was another guy called Luke, who apparently was just like, it just wasn't a very good Marine. He might have been going through the same experience I had. I don't know. Right. But either way, this corporal had something against this guy called Luke. And then I rock up, Luke, get put into this troop, right? And what happened was we went on a troop run, and I did bad on the troop run. Okay. Right. And I was just, it wasn't that I was unfit. I think just, some days when you're just not feeling good that day. Of course. Yeah. Everybody's got it. And I just didn't do so well. And I thought to myself, you know what? That really sucks, because I wanted to try and make an impression. But I didn't think anything of it. I thought, we've got another run tomorrow. I'll do well in the run. Right. It's not a big deal. And this guy was on my back straight away. He was like, you're a shit bloke. We hate you. We don't want, but all this stuff. So at this point, I'm thinking, oh, great. Well, now I really have to. I didn't think anything of it, but I thought, now I really have to kind of work hard. Right. It seems like these guys, because in fact, actually, just going back a little bit, not to kind of like make this more complicated, I was actually recommended to this troop by a different corporal in the same like unit, but not like, not the same troop. Right. So I was recommended into this one, and it got to the point where I was feeling so much pressure that I feel like I was messing up a lot. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I was I was trying so hard that it was making it more apparent that I was messing it up. Right. And it got worse and worse. And we do this stuff called this is all like, this doesn't happen anymore, but there's something called a joining run, where they close off like a certain parameter so none of the officers can see. And you do it's like a joining kind of like initiation thing. I'm sure football teams and stuff happen. Right. Yeah. But if you can imagine what it was like in the Royal Marines, this is it's horrific. Of course. It's horrific. They make you down bottles of vodka. They shoot you with frozen paintballs. There's all this crazy stuff that happens, right? you have to stand on this chair and tell like a story of whatever story they require to while they're throwing eggs at you, flour, making you eat rations, drink beer, like, and you're throwing up and they're making you run, do exercise. It's horrific. Horrific. I don't think it happens anymore. But when my joining run happened, I knew that there was people out to get me. I knew there were people who were targeting me purposely. And I said, you know what? I'm going to let them. And I'm just going to be like, I don't care. Throw everything you've got at me.
Right.
And I'm going to prove to you guys that I want this. And I did it. And I was like, hell yeah. And they didn't flinch. They still kept going up and they still kept doing it. So I'm like, okay. So I started participating in troop, like they'd go down to like the bar on camp, you know, and there'd be times where the sergeant, we'd all be dancing and stuff, and he'd just turn around and hit me on the dance floor. Everyone there just hit me, and I'm like, holy crap! And I get up, and I'm like, I'm gonna fight this prick. I'm gonna fight him. I don't care. He's like 5 times bigger than me. He's huge. He was a boxer in the Royal Marines. I'm like, I'm gonna get him anyway. And one of the guys just grabbed me and was like, Luke, just go. Because this guy he did like 6 or 7 tours of Afghan. This guy was messed up. So my mate's just like, go back to the grot. Yeah. It's not worth it. Things can escalate very badly right now if you provoke this. So I'm just like, whatever. So I go back to camp and it just kept escalating. To the point where like there was things happening, like there was other friends of this corporal who would text him from a random number pretending to be my brother and be like, I know what you're doing. I'm going to beat you up. And, but it was so obvious that like, because it was based up in Scotland, it was so obvious because there was like Scottish lingo in the text, like you're a wee prick and all this, like, do you know what I mean? Like Scottish lingo. And I'm like, my brother's not Scottish. Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. But they would like, and they would know it's fake, but they would make it like, you're going to get it. It's the worst, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, again, I don't think I helped myself because I would put too much pressure on myself. I'd fail things. I'd lash out at people because I was so lonely.
Yeah.
And to go back to what you were saying, kind of to wrap this all up, my outlet, which I think also kind of made them want to target me even more, was escapism. Video games, movies, TV shows.
Right, yeah.
And I'd be like, I'd want to be on my own and I'd want to play my game and I'd want to be on my own and be like away from everyone and escape.
Yeah.
And it is a huge form of that's actually really good for mental health.
It is. I think it's one of the best things is playing video games, especially whether it be by yourself or with friends, the few friends that you may have. Dude, it's such a mental relief.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it just tumbled from then on out because I didn't help myself. Like at that point, I was just kind of, and it followed me. I went to like a different unit. It followed me.
Really?
You know, like, yeah. And at that point, I was just so done with it that I'm just, I don't care. I don't even want to be part of it anymore. Right. You know, and bearing in mind, there was people around me who were really supportive as well.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, like one bad thing ruins 10 good things, you know?
Of course.
And they'd invite me out. We'd have a good time. But there was always this one thing in the back of my head where it's like, all these people think that I'm a shit bloke. Yeah. All these people think that I'm the worst. And I could never really enjoy myself, but I was also enjoying myself at the same time. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is an isolated incident. I'm sure it happens in the Royal Marines in other places, but this isn't a common thing by any means.
Right.
It just so happened that I probably was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And I just had a couple of bad things happen, and it just spiraled out of control from there. But I think now that I'm older and I can reflect on it, I'm not happy that it happened, obviously, but I'm not angry at the guy.
Right.
Because now that I've got old, at first I was, but now that I've got older, I think, you know, this, and I'm not obviously going to give away his name or anything, but he ended up going to jail and a bunch of other stuff for beating up someone. I think it was his girlfriend or something or whatever.
Jesus.
The thing was, right, all this sounds bad, but he obviously had a lot of mental problems.
Of course.
He was such like he was probably a good guy before all the tours.
Yeah,
he's probably a really nice guy. So like, I mean, I would even go to say that I'd go and have a chat with him now about it.
Really?
And be like, hey, how are you doing? You remember me? Like, you okay? What's up? Like, how are you doing? You know? And I'd like that, and I think it would give me a bit of closure. But also, I'm not worried. I'm okay with it.
Of course, yeah.
I'm happy with it. But you know, like, I think it might help him a bit.
You know what? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it might help him in a sense of, you know, going back to people that, I mean, without question, he remembers you. He remembers your face. He remembers the thing, especially I'm sure, and now this is all speculation, but I'm sure that since doing the things that he's done, he's had time to reflect on all the really shitty things that he's done in the past. And so,
Right.
I feel like that might actually help too. But who knows, man? Some people are just fucked. Some
Messed up.
people
Yeah.
like, and that's the thing too is I've never served. I'm not ever claiming that, but I can't imagine that 6-7 tours in Afghanistan is good for the mental health. Like
No.
there are very few people that can handle that well.
Yeah.
Can
Some people can't even handle one.
it's crazy. I've listened
Mhm.
I've listened to a lot of guys that have talked about this in the past, and there's that mental threshold of some guys who can carry on with their everyday life and be completely normal after a couple tours. And then there's guys who are a couple months in on their first one, and they break. They can't do it anymore, and it happens so often, obviously. But there's that such a massive range of what could happen versus what does happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I also, like, when I did have more time to reflect on it and not be mad at it, like, I looked at the history of the troop. I knew the history of this troop I was going into. The tour prior to them, I'm pretty sure I might be messing this up completely, but there was an ID that killed like 3 or 4 of them.
Jesus.
But not only that, there was also a story which I'm gonna have to. I'm probably butchering this, and I apologize if I'm butchering it. But there was this story of someone who died and the body was left behind, and they literally strapped themselves to a helicopter because they all couldn't fit in the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
They strapped themselves to the side of the helicopter, right on the outside of it,
Yeah.
to go in and get this guy. So this guy has such a huge pack mentality of like, we've been through all this crazy stuff together. And then you get this one young 16, 17-year-old comes into a troop, fails the first run, and he's like, I don't want you a part of this troop.
Yeah.
So I understand that as well. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
yeah, because there is a way to look at that too. That might have been his way of mentally preparing you for what's going to happen or what could happen. Like what could happen out there. Like dude, and you hear about it all the time. You hear about the guys that, those guys that are in your unit, in your troop, are the dudes that should have your back no matter what, especially when it comes time to actually go down range and things are getting real, right?
Yeah. And you do think that, but it did make me wonder, with all the pressure, do they have me back?
Right, and that's what I started thinking too. Whenever you said that you were kind of being targeted, I was like, aren't these the guys that are supposed to have your back? Like, I get a little fun, playful hazing. Like, everybody gets shit on for a little bit, right? Especially the newest guy. You're the lowest on the totem pole. Got to prove yourself, right? But that was my initial thought was, damn, like, did you think that these guys had your back?
Exactly, and I'm sure. I'm looking back now. I'm like almost 100% guaranteed that they would have had my back,
right?
No matter what, right? But as a 17, I think by the time like that. As an 18-year-old, you don't see it like that, and that doubt in your mind should not be something you're going abroad with. No way, no way. You know what I mean? Like, so there's pros and cons to all of it, I think, and I'm really happy that I've learned a lot from it, because I feel like if someone comes to me now and says they're being bullied, or if someone comes to me and says this person who is bullying someone,
right,
I feel like I have a better understanding on how to react to it, and not just be like, hey, don't bully, that's bad, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? Like, what's up? Like,
yeah, because there is some underlying problems. Like, there is something else going on. Almost always. No one's a dick for no reason.
Exactly. And it's such a shame that we're even talking about this, because I had so many good times in the Marines, man. Just to bring it back, we had some times when, like, we were blowing off some steam before they were going all on tour, and I ended up not going on tour. They pinged me for something else, which is another story. But before it was even going on, they said, you know what, we're going to go down south to the south. We were based up in Scotland. We're going to go down south to the southern England, and we're going to do 2 weeks of surfing and relax, drink, have a laugh, party.
Nice.
I've never had so much fun.
Right.
And there was other things, like we did the opening of Parliament, where we had to line the streets in London in our uniform when the Queen and everyone went past. And like on the downtime from that, we were out in London having fun with the troop. We would, I had some incredible experiences with people who I still keep in contact with today. And they're amazing people, and they've DM'd me, and I still talk to them. And it was honestly some of the most like free, like how can I explain? Like you felt so free and like you
Right.
felt on top of the world. You just earned a green beret. You're
Yeah.
out on the town with your lads who have got green berets. You felt
Yeah.
unstoppable.
I mean,
You know,
you guys are part of an elite group, the 99.9. You are the 0.1%, like that
right?
makes it through.
Right.
So of course you're on time. Like,
Felt amazing.
of
Yeah,
course, yeah. Why wouldn't you? You worked
exactly.
so hard. You got your shit kicked in for 32 weeks, and then
Yeah.
everything else that happened on top of it. Why wouldn't you be like that? That is something that
Yeah.
you should be proud of.
Yeah, honestly, we had some fantastic times. We really did. And I know that was one bad incident, and I just don't want it to cloud people's judgment of the Royal Marines, because I tell you what, the Royal Marines are an exceptional group of people. They are some of the most, obviously, barring that person, the most professional, the most intelligent soldiers
Right.
that I've ever met. Because they always say Royal Marines are thinking soldiers. That's
Right.
what they say. And that's because when an officer gives a command, the troop has to think about it and be like, okay, well, how can we best do this? Whereas in the army, they're like, there's a crate of, I don't know, a crate of logs over here. You got to put this crate of logs right here. They'll pick it up exactly how it is and put it exactly here. Right? This is like the example I'm giving you. This is not real. But the Royal Marines would look at that and be like, okay, how can we best get that from that to there? How can we do it more efficiently? How can we make it look better over here than it was over there?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like, and not only that, they train you to think like that, because another unique thing is you're always training to be 2 ranks above you. So if anything happens, you're trained 2 ranks above.
Right.
So that's something that's very unique as well.
Yeah.
Very unique. So when you're in training, they're picking out leaders in them troops in the training to practice to be corporals, lance corporals, 2 ICs, whatever.
Right.
You know, like they're practicing to lead a troop, even though you're still in training right now.
Yeah, of
you're
course.
Still in training.
Yeah.
And that's important for again being a thinking soldier and being able to be competent on the battleground if something bad happens.
Right.
And I tell you what, the Royal Marines are some of the most incredible, professional, amazing people I've ever met. Like, there's been some incredible people during my time in the Royal Marines that I think like are probably some of the best people on this planet. And I shit you not, like, honestly,
that
most compassionate and everything.
And you know, that's so good to hear too, especially hearing, you know, the negative things that did come out of that. Like, there are still so, like, that's such a like a metaphor for life, man. There's looking at the bright side of the dark side, right? You know, like the shit that happened that sucks, but to hear you be like, man, like, you know, I've had so many great times. That's so good to hear, truly.
Yeah, we had especially in training as well, we had such a laugh with some of the lads. Like, just little things, like you go watch the football, or, you know, like, just the little things, and it was just so much fun. It really was, going on vacations together and just having a blast. You know what I mean? Like, crazy.
Have any of the guys? Obviously, you said you kind of keep up with quite a few of them still. What do they think about your success on YouTube and now moving into Twitch?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of them are just kind of, I don't know whether there's a few and far between that are like, this is amazing, you and incredible, I love YouTube, I love Twitch, you know? And I think a lot of Royal Marines are very oblivious to kind of this new internet kind of career. I think so. I wouldn't say they're oblivious. I would say more that they're just not as interested.
Right.
Because they're very outdoorsy people.
Right. Yeah.
There is a handful of you could say like veteran, like kind of celebrities in a way. And with them celebrities, it's like a show in England called SAS Who Dares Wins, which is just like they get celebrities or whatever, and they do like a SAS course, and it's run by former Special Boat Service and former Special Air Service, and some of them are former Royal Marines, because you have to go through that,
of course,
to get into.
Yeah.
You know? And I think with that has come this new kind of wave of veterans or current serving who are now trying to get big on mostly things like Instagram and stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's a big outlet for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. Oh, and that's something that I feel like I'm not really like too interested in. I'll do it. Like, I'll do it to help the YouTube, but I'm not too interested in it. But a lot of them have contacted me and have been like, hey, can you help me out? Can you give me some, you know, advice?
Yeah.
And what you're doing is really cool. Can we send you out some I've got T-shirts from fellow Royal Marines and stuff. And you know, and they're trying to grow a business, and like, do you reckon you'd be able to help us out in a way? And I find it awesome. I find it awesome that they've come to me, like the person that I didn't think I was good enough. They come to me and been like, can you help me? And it makes me so proud on the fact that one that I've been able to turn stuff around. Two, that these people actually, whether they know what happened with the bullying or not, they don't care at this point.
Right.
They don't care, and they're more like, you're a good person. We can see it now.
Of course.
I've had people who have contacted me who were not in that troop, but in that vicinity when it happened.
Right.
And they're just super nice to me, as if like, it's fine. You're okay. You're a cool guy. It's all good. I've had people who, you know, who were at the last, like the last stage of me being in the Royal Marines where I just gave up. And a lad who was literally still in the Royal Marines, and he talks to me and he's like, we're good friends. I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Checking in, you know, and it's so refreshing to see how there is a lot of good people, a lot of good people who really do care.
Yeah.
You know? Really do care.
That is, and you know, sometimes it just takes time. You know, it takes time for those people to reflect back too and be like, damn, you know, like that was really shitty, you know, and like try and make amends with things, you know.
Yeah, it was shitty for everyone, shitty for me. I most definitely didn't help myself at all, you know, but my God, like there's some good people, and they definitely like, they've reached out and they've been nice, and it's really impressive. And I think it's only gonna get better. You know, it's only going to get better. I'm going to try and reach out to more people that I've not spoke to in years and just be like, hey, how you doing? You know,
I think you should. I think you should.
I have been slowly doing it. But the other thing as well, like I want to go home and I'd like to meet some, but they're all scattered now.
Yeah,
I got a friend of mine. A friend of mine who, you know, he moved to Dubai, and they're just all over the world, man, all over the world.
Jesus.
And it's just like trying to get people together again. It's just near impossible, you know?
And trust me, you're not the only one that's like that too. I think as we all get older, everybody starts to scatter, man. Everybody starts to scatter. It's kind of crazy. Well, listen, man, dude, I'm so glad to have had you on the podcast. It means so much to me. You got such a wild story. Hearing all of that from the start of things to where you're at now, it's truly amazing to hear what you went through and to where you're at right now. Like that transition is wild, man. I couldn't be more proud. Like obviously this is our first time really ever talking, as opposed to like when we're gaming and stuff like that. The one time we've gamed together, dude. Truly, like you're an inspiration. That is such an amazing thing to hear, bro. It's really great. It really is.
It's so weird to say. Like it's so weird when people say. In fact, I've started getting letters from people.
Really?
And my wife's obviously pregnant, super emotional. She read this one by this like 14-year-old. She just like burst into tears. It's such an inspiration. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm still trying to figure this out.
Trying to make YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just trying to make videos and play games, guys. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. Where can the people find you at all across the board?
Yeah, so I have like 3 kind of avenues now. I've got my Twitch, which is Original Human Gaming. I have my main channel on YouTube, which is just Original Human, and I have now a new second channel called Original Human Geek.
Ooh.
So they're like,
okay, cool.
It's gonna be like non-military stuff and just more, you know,
nerd side of things. Cool.
Yeah, nerd stuff.
That's awesome, man. That's what it's all about. So, well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough. Again, I'm very appreciative of having you on. It really does mean a lot, and yeah, man, we'll talk soon. Good luck in the success of things. Thank you. Let's do this again sometime. I'm super down. Yeah, cool, man. Cool. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, bud. All right, thanks everybody.